you might be getting presbyopia. Or you might be far-sighted. It turns out that that's something different. What is presbyopia, and how is it different from far-sightedness? How do presbyopia contact lenses work? Are there any side effects to these contact lenses? What does it take to get a contact lens through FDA clearance? So apparently there's this thing called a ciliary muscle in your eye that allows your lens to flex through a process called accommodation. As we age, our eyes change. Presbyopia is often noticeable in your 40s, and starts to get worse and worse until about age 65. This is different than far-sightedness, where your eyeball is too short or your cornea is too flat to allow focusing to happen. But whereas presbyopia is a degradation of the ciliary muscle over time, far-sightedness can hit you right in your youth and be with you for your entire life. Typical solutions to presbyopia include reading glasses, bifocals, multifocals, monovision contact lenses where you've got a prescription in one eye but not the other, as well as our focus today. Did you get that? Focus today? Multifocal contact lenses, which is a relatively new technology and really groundbreaking. There are three main types of multifocal contact lenses: concentric, aspheric, and segmented. Concentric multifocal contact lenses are exactly what they sound like: rings of near, far throughout the contact lens. I don't pretend to understand exactly how this works, but it reminds me of when I first heard about monovision contact lenses. Your brain apparently sorts this out, even though the rings are alternating. Aspheric multifocal contact lenses are much more understandable because they gradually go from near to intermediate to far as you go from, for example, the outside to the inside of the lens. As a result, it doesn't matter which way is up, just like the concentric lenses. Whichever way the contact is in your eye will work just fine. Segmented multifocal lenses are the bifocals of the contact world. They're actually weighted towards one side so the segments can stay in their proper orientation, with one part towards the bottom and another part higher up, so that they sit in your eye just like bifocals. So are there any side effects to multifocal contact lenses? What we're going to talk about next is really what sets MedTech Crossroads apart from another medical products show. At Into Being, we develop medical and life science products for innovators and entrepreneurs. As a result, we like to get into the back end of what makes products tick and how they're developed. So to talk about the side effects of multifocal contact lenses, enter MAUDE. No, not that MAUDE. This is the MAUDE database that the FDA maintains. It is the Manufacturer and User Facility Device Experience. What was that? The Manufacturer and User Facility Device Experience. It's the database of what goes wrong that the public can report into. Hospitals, doctors, and even patients can report into MAUDE on the problems they experience with medical devices. All we have to do is go to the database, you can go there too, and plug in the product code LPL, which is what most of these contact lenses are cleared under. And right up front, it's important to mention that in our brief research, we didn't find any massive problems that were significantly different from what you would expect to find for any soft contact lens. Ulcers, abrasions, blurry eyes, dry eyes, but nothing that made these multifocal lenses look dramatically different from a safety profile than their more boring soft cousins. But if you have a question about a particular brand of contact lenses or a particular experience that you or a loved one may be having, the MAUDE database might be a very interesting stop on your journey. Just go there and plug in terms relevant to your search. It's important to realize that not only doctors, but patients as well can submit information to the MAUDE database, and if you're having a problem with a medical device, you can go directly to the MAUDE database and submit a report on a device adverse event. I came across one particularly interesting report from a patient who spoke in very flowery language about the problems they were having with their multifocal contact lenses. And once again, I want to emphasize that these are probably not unique problems to a particular brand. These are relatively generic problems to contact lenses. As I said before, we didn't really notice that multifocals were having particularly unique problems, nor are they exempt from the kinds of problems that you expect contact lenses to have. Here's what the user said. I didn't associate the headaches with the contacts at first because they were supposed to be my same old prescription. I thought the headache might be sinus or allergy related, but when it became so intense yesterday, I realized this was something more than allergies. When I say headache, I mean lying on the floor and crying headache. So I took out the contacts earlier than usual yesterday. We got all the details here. This is great. I wear them about 12 hours a day. Yes, the headache began to dissipate. As I sit here today, I can't say the pain is entirely gone, but it's far below yesterday's pain level. My left eye still aches. I've read the box, and this lens has some additional features. My optician is on vacation, so I've made an appointment to discuss this with her on her return. But in the meanwhile, I thought I should report this incident. From the internet, it appears that the old multifocal lens product will be or is discontinued. The lens that replaces it is seriously bad news. Wow, we've got blow-by-blow color description of the experience with this contact lens that I'm sure many of us can relate to. But we do see some interesting issues being reported here. The discomfort, the slight change that shouldn't have made a difference but apparently did, and trends that can then be watched as you go through and look at a particular type of lens to see if there is a trend. Here's another one from a hospital system or from an eye doctor. A consumer reported that they wore their contact lens continuously for 6 to 7 days. After a week, the consumer removed and disinfected the contact lens. Their left eye became red, itchy, painful, and they reported that they were not able to see out of it. They went to the doctor 2 days later and were diagnosed with an infected corneal ulcer. Sounds terrible, right? But a good doctor and a good manufacturer will follow up with these kind of reports. And in this case, we have the manufacturer's conclusion. The review of the manufacturing records concludes that the product was manufactured, packaged, and released according to global and plant product specifications. These contact lenses are approved for daily wear or extended wear up to 6 nights and 7 days with a monthly replacement schedule. So it actually wasn't out of the ordinary that this user was wearing them for an entire week. The consumer also slept in lenses, showered in lenses, swam in lenses. Now we're getting closer. In the instructions for users, there's a warning not to expose contact lenses to non-sterile water, like tap water, while wearing them. Water can harbor microorganisms that can lead to infection. It is advised to replace lenses if they have been submerged in water when swimming in pools. Based on all available information, the doctor attributes the event to poor contact lens hygiene. And right here, this touches on some important topics that we've covered on this show before and you can find in links. Namely, what do you report to patients in the instructions for use? It's an important part of the risk management process to tell patients about potential dangers. But honestly, how many of us actually read the instruction manual? If it says don't swim in your contact lenses, did you really take that to heart? Well, this user probably now is taking that to heart. But so many of us don't register that. And this touches on some important topics we've covered on the show numerous times that you can find in the links. 2 of these topics are risk management and also labeling, including instructions for use. What do you do when you can't make a product inherently safe and you can't put safety mechanisms in place to protect the user? All that's left for you is labeling. So you put a warning in the instructions for use, saying, don't swim in these. But how many of us actually read those warnings? This is a perennial problem in medical device development and something that every developer needs to be aware of. So what does it take to get a contact lens on the market and through FDA? If we look at the FDA product classification website, we will discover the product code LPL applies to most soft hydrophilic contact lenses. These are identified as devices intended to be worn directly against the cornea and adjacent limbal and scleral areas of the eye to correct vision conditions or act as a therapeutic bandage. The device is made of various polymer materials, the main polymer molecules of which absorb or attract a certain volume of water. And this is where it gets interesting. If the device is intended for daily wear only, these are Class 2 devices subject to 510K. But if it's any more than that, these actually become Class 3 pre-market approval medical devices. For a Class 2 device in the LPL product code, a 510K is what is required for clearance through the FDA. This is on the basis of substantial equivalence. A 510K submission to the FDA is what's required to get a Class 2 device in the LPL product code onto the market. This is going to require a predicate device for reference with the same intended use as the device you're trying to clear. You're also going to have to go through registration and listing and general controls. There are also special controls listed for products in the LPL product code. Some of these special controls are listed on the FDA website and include standards on biocompatibility, clinical investigations guidance, bacterial and fungal challenges, cytotoxicity testing, taking into account the cleaning solutions that you're going to use with the contact lenses, tolerances, measurements, physiochemical properties, even questions of how preservatives uptake into the contact lenses. These are all special controls that are expected as a part of your submission. There's some pretty cool technology under the hood for these multifocal contact lenses. They address a problem that many of us are going to face as we get older. They don't seem to have drastically different adverse events as their soft cousins, and they can be cleared through the 510K process for medical devices with a few special controls in place that I'm sure glad the FDA has addressed.